Now we have the genome, and there are ethical issues, but there are a lot of, I don't think they're in any sense different than we already get from the practice of medicine. What should the doctor tell you? How much should he know? I guess what I've learned is that people tend to go on such committees are people who really don't have anything else to do. And so they tend to be, either stupid or leftist. They want schizophrenia to be caused by capitalistic stresses. So, mental, stress would disappear if we had better government, and then we wouldn't have the problem. Whereas, all I could say is, they tend to run in families. Identical twins have, greater concordance, so it's, to me, smelled with genetics. What I think our newest ethical dilemma is, which is real, which is now, because we can sequence personal genomes, we can, for the first time, measure mutation rates. So it comes out that most of the mutations, or at least if you look at individuals, the answer is that most of them seem to have arisen, you got them through your father, not your mother. But it's not so simple. It depends on the age of the father. So old men give rise to a lot of mutations, which just accumulate because the progenitor of the sperm cells keep dividing. Whereas women make all their eggs and stop by the age 12. So the age of the woman is essentially irrelevant, and because they stop making the eggs, the mutations are more likely to come from the father. So we should put it in terms of, you could say, what is the burden of the mutations to society? And I think you make the argument that at least 3% of children are born that are, because of new mutations, are unable to look after themselves for the rest of their lives. They'll be autistic. Sometimes you'll think they're fine when they're young, but with time it will become clear they really, are cognitively impaired. So you have a burden of 3 to 5%, and it's partly your definition of, whether you're able to take care of yourself or not. Men are much less able to take care of themselves than women. And, they could have two reasons. One, women are more sensible. And the second is the men are sicker. Okay. Now, I prefer the explanation the men are sicker. And because they tend to occur earlier in boys than in girls. So I'm saying that's probably not a cultural thing, but more likely the severity of the disease. New mutations which are occurring are giving rise to a definite burden on society, and which to me, is a good argument. You could just say there should be some redistribution of wealth. Should they to take care of these people when instead of all the burden falling on the parents of this, 3%, 5% of the people. And I was actually at a church when I was arguing this, and the man called it socialism. And I said, well, I thought it was Christianity. So, should essentially we collect sperm from, everyone at the age of boys, from the age of 15, okay? And it's just stored. So if they, want to have a fifth marriage and have a child when they're 80, they're providing the woman with 15-year-old sperm. Okay. Now, the burden is great enough that it seems to me that, any intelligent woman, say 30 years from now, reproduction will become increasingly in vitro. It's efficient, and particularly with women who One career is it's hard to have children if you don't have them young. So I think the people will be doing it anyways. But then any, sensible woman will say that the only way I'll have children is to get you at 15, your sperm from 15. Is it immoral not to actively try and prevent people from being born with genetic disease? That is, should we be proactive? Now here I've been very disappointed with our Human Genome Institute. They seem to have just don't want to talk about it. That is genetic screening, but I think done quite cheaply, for all the major minor things. Every college student could be screened for $400. And then they would know that maybe, they have a bad cystic fibrosis gene, and so they would not have children until the woman was screened. So I think, doing nothing is immoral.